On today's episode of the podcast, we are super excited to be joined by Zach Rich. He is a missionary that is going out. This is the first missionary we're going to have that's a future missionary. So we're really excited to have him on, learn about some of his experiences as he talks about learning from the examples of his brother, uncles, cousins, dad, about serving missions. So we're really excited to have you. Thanks for listening. Welcome in, everybody, to the Modern Missionary Podcast, presented by Odeon Menswear. My name is Braden Day. I am the host of this podcast. I'm also the CEO of Odeon Menswear, and I'm super excited for today's co-host and guest. So today we've got Zach Rich, and he is our first guest that we're going to have on the show that is a pre-missionary. So this is really exciting because I'm pumped to see kind of his perspective, look at it from somebody who's getting ready to go out. So let's just jump into this, Zach. Just give us a little bit of background about who you are. Maybe, obviously they know your name, but where you're from, where your mission call is to, and when you leave.
Okay. My name's Zach Rich. I work at Odeon for Braden, and I'm serving in the Spokane, Washington mission, leaving September 9th. And yeah, I'm super excited.
Spokane. So what was it like the day that you opened your call? Like what were your emotions about Spokane, or just in general, kind of what you were expecting versus what actually happened?
To open my call, I was like super nervous, and people like say they're gonna open it in front of everyone, live reaction, or some people will go open it by themselves earlier. And I was always like, oh, I'm gonna open it earlier because I'm a crybaby, if you know me, so I'm pretty emotional. So I was going to cry the whole time. And so I decided to wait, actually, and that's exactly what I did. So I started bawling, was very emotional. But, I saw Spokane, and I've been to Coeur d'Alene a couple times, and I love it up there. Like, it's my favorite place. Like, if you know me, you'll know I say, like, I'd rather go to Coeur d'Alene than, like, many other places on the world for vacation. So, yeah, I love it up there, and I'm super excited.
That's awesome. So you didn't open it before, correct? Did I understand that properly?
Yeah, I waited till in front of everyone.
Man, that's see, and I feel like, so I was in the day where it was actually paper when you got your call. So I never got the actual virtual call. So I think I would have had a really hard time not opening the email before I read it in front of everybody. So, and something they also have done with the calls is in the last couple of years, I can't remember when they started. It's been in the last couple of years, but they basically made it so now there's way more writing about the mission call before you actually get to the call, which I actually love. I think they did it. The purpose of them doing that was to make it so, because I feel like after they somebody read where they were going, they didn't read the rest of it, and I feel like it's a good missionary experience to kind of all the people that are anxiously listening get to kind of hear about your purpose and all those different things. Yeah. So there's a lot more suspense whenever I listen to like my cousins or nieces and nephews opening their calls, because it's like it keeps going on and on and on before you actually figure out where you're going. So that's awesome. So leave in September. So you've got a little bit of time to prepare. What are you doing to prepare both, spiritually and physically for your mission?
I've just been busy with like, you got to prepare, you got to get the priesthood, and you got to go through the temple. So, there's plenty of stuff to do in between. It's not like just a big dry spell. So, I've just been preparing to get the Melchizedek priesthood recently, and then depending on when I decide to go through the temple. So
awesome. That's awesome. I remember those days of kind of getting ready. Obviously, I was during the time period where I was one of the first missionaries during the age change. So I was planning on going to a full year of school. I went to a semester, and during that first semester, they made the age change in October. And so I decided to go out. So mine was a little different than you, but all those missionaries, some of my best friends that were the year younger than me, kind of had that first thing. Like, okay, I got to figure out when I'm going to go to the temple to get with enough time for me to, get out and all those different things. So that's awesome. In terms of like practically, like, do you feel like, obviously, because you're an employee at Odeon, we're expecting you to kind of, you'll probably shop most of your stuff there, but like other types of things like getting ready practically, like, are there other things you're preparing for to get out?
You just got to prepare to be like, your life's going to change. You're going to not have your family with you. You're going to have to prepare for that. So I've just been, just like spending time with family is very important to me right now, and spending time with my buddies, because I know it's going to be a 2-year gap when I don't see them. So just been spending a lot of quality time with my friends and family. That's been a big part
I think
about it.
that's awesome for you to do. Like there are lots of things you could prepare for, but I feel like one of the things that you'll get out and realize like is, man, I wish I would have thought about this more or spent more time with this person or, kind of done some of those things. So I think what you're doing is great for that. One thing on the practical side of things with preparation, I feel like it depends on where you're going. Like, right, for me, I needed to make sure I was getting my visa and my all those different things. But like for you, maybe it's a little more simple on that front. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's also like you got to figure out like maybe where I was at, it was different in terms of needing to know how to cook because we were fed by members a lot of times. But like you might have to figure out how to cook some recipes and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's all fun stuff. It's so fun. Even just we're a couple minutes into this and just kind of getting the excitement of missionaries going out, just knowing kind of the headspace you're in. Obviously, not exactly where the way you were, but like me having been through that, but now knowing what it's actually like is really fun. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's jump into that kind of expectations of kind of what you're thinking your mission's going to be like, and kind of what is the biggest things you're looking forward to, and what are maybe the biggest worries you have about serving a mission.
Some of the bigger things I'm like looking forward to is just meeting. I'm gonna meet like a whole new like just area of people. I'm gonna like it's not gonna be like Utah, even though it's like not that far away. It's gonna be a whole lot different, just on the how many members there are aspect of that. So I mean, I'm gonna meet a lot of new people, have some new companions. I'm gonna have to learn how to live with them. So yeah, just excited about meeting new people and having new experiences. Worries, I would say, just like I mean, the classics, just like I'm not gonna have my parent. I mean, I get to call them every week, which is that's it. I love that change about it because that helps me be able to go out a lot easier, knowing that I'm gonna be able to call my family every week.
Yeah,
So just missing the people and um, maybe not being able to maybe I don't know how to word that, but just not take advantage of every opportunity. Hopefully, like you're gonna expect to be able to get a lot more baptisms on date or whatever, but I mean, you got to know there's gonna be a lot of no's. You're gonna get doors slammed in your face, but you got to just be ready for that and not expect to get a baptism every time.
yeah, and I think that's really mature of you to kind of recognize that now, because I think that is one of the biggest difficulties for missionaries going out is you kind of this is something that I feel like we'll have you back on in a couple of years and you'll maybe attest to this, but we I feel like you even know that it's going to be a certain way, and you tell that to yourself, and then you get there, and you kind of like, oh, maybe it isn't the way I thought it was going to be, and then it ends up being the way you kind of thought it was. Like, for example, rejection. It's like, oh, I know I'm going to get rejected, and then you start doing it. You're like, oh, I'm not going to get rejected. I learned this, this, and this. This is how I'm not going to get rejected, and then you get rejected. You're like, oh crap, yep, I was right originally. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. So I'm really intrigued to kind of see how that goes, because it does seem like you've probably had good mentors around you kind of explaining how hard it is going to be and some of the things that are going on, so you can be prepared for that. That's one of the things that I've shared multiple times on this podcast is like, I think my parents, my dad, my uncles, the people that have served around me, did tell me about some of the hard things, and maybe I just forgot about them, but I just really wish I was a little more prepared for how hard it was going to be. um, it still was the best thing ever, and I've even talked recently with some people, like I would go back out and serve. If I obviously with my family and things like that, it's way different. But if I was like recently returned from my mission and they said, "Hey, you got to go back out," I loved my mission, but it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done by
Oh
a
yeah.
long ways. And I wish I would have been a little more prepared for that, because I got out 3 or 4 months into the mission, and I'm like, do I really want to be here? Like, this is way harder than I expected.
Mhm.
And obviously pushed through that and got through it. But it was something that if I would have been maybe a little more emotionally prepared, I would have thought that I wasn't the only one that was doing that, rather than I kind of felt like I was the only one struggling the way I was struggling. So it seems pretty mature of you to kind of um, recognize some of the places you're going to be struggling, but also be super excited for the things you're going to have. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go in with a couple things. You mentioned a couple just key words that we use in like the mission field, like baptism on date and stuff. Have you been going out with like missionaries, doing any exchanges or splits or things like that, or has it just been you just kind of know that verbiage from people around?
Um, I haven't been out with any of the missionaries, but I mean, I just know a lot of those words just because I have a brother out right now,
Okay,
and he's in St. Louis, Missouri. So
okay,
just being able to like hear his experiences and being able to understand a little bit more about what it's about, that's been able to help me out a ton. And so he's been a great example to me, just to help me get out there too, and just to get a little bit more understanding and not just go in completely blindsided, like you said. Just, I know it's going to be hard. I know he's had hardships, but I know he's loved it, and that just makes me want to go out and enjoy it too.
Yeah. How long has he been out?
He's been out like a year. He has a couple months. He gets back September 2nd, and so I leave September 9th. So we'll have a
Okay.
week, and then I'll become a missionary, and then I'll have a couple home MTC weeks. So yeah, I'll be able to see him for a couple weeks. So
That was going to be my next question: is if you guys are going to overlap, or if you'd be able to see each other. So that's awesome. You'll be able to see each other and kind of be together for a little bit of that. And I'm sure those first couple MTC weeks, he's going to be pretty gung ho and helping you get ready and do a couple of those things. So that's awesome.
He'll be on me.
So that's really cool. I like that you have that. And actually, something you said earlier that I really like, and I don't know that we've talked about it much on the podcast so far, is that the change to be able to call home every week. I feel like that is a huge change, but I think you just shared a side of it that I've been pretty passionate about, and that is from the family side, they get to be more involved in missionary work than they ever have been. Like my parents and my little brother, which Jordan has been on the podcast before, like he got my letters and my emails, but I was actually pretty crappy at writing very many details and kind of some of those things in my emails. And so he knew that I like loved my mission. I'm sure it like encouraged him a little bit, but I feel like you being able to be on, whether it's weekly or, maybe you can't get on every single week, but you can get on a lot of the weeks and kind of listen to him. It probably, I don't know, I'd love to hear how that has fueled your desire to go on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely has, for sure. Like you said, like you described it perfectly. Being able to, like, I've had older cousins that'll send their emails and I'll read them. Like, I would have read them a little bit and I would have been like, oh, that's a cool story. But I mean, you never really get into like how mission works. And again, like, I don't know everything. I barely know anything probably, but just being able to hear like about the roles he's played and just all the experiences and the words he'll use, I can understand him more. And that definitely helps every week, just to be able to hear how his week went and, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I love what we've talked about so far. I actually want to take a step back. We kind of jumped right into where you were going and when you got your call. I would love to hear a little bit about kind of what the decision-making process was for you about deciding to serve a mission, whether you made that at age 2 when you said, I hope they call me on a mission, and you've never looked back, or if that was something that you kind of struggled with and have now decided recently. Let's kind of walk through that decision process of what it took to get you to decide to go on a mission.
Yeah, so I mean, ever since I was a kid, I like always wanted to go on a mission. My dad went, both my grandpas went. Just a bunch of great examples as like my older cousins have went. So I think like the biggest thing for me was just having examples in my life that have went, and I for sure it definitely made my decision final when my older brother decided to serve, and just being able to see like his approach to it and just how much he's changed and just all the good that has come out of it makes me want to serve more. So yeah, I'd definitely say the biggest thing is just the examples in my life that have made me want to serve.
That's awesome, and I think that's super crucial to have that. That's a big reason why I served as I don't really I'm the oldest boy cousin on both sides of my family, and I'm the oldest boy in my family, but I did have a dad and uncles that had served, so that kind of was the same experience there. So do you feel like when it kind of came time to like, hey, I'm going to put my papers in, was it even did you have to battle with it, or do you kind of feel like you were like, okay, it's time, like there's not really a question in my mind, I'm going to serve?
Like my sophomore year, I was like, oh, I guess I kind of got to start like making some decisions. Like sophomore years, that's still ways out, but I definitely had to start making like some decisions just about college and stuff. So, like once my brother had decided to go, I was like, yeah, I'm going. And so ever since he left, I knew I was going to be putting my papers in the same time and be heading out at the same time. So
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. And I think it's been kind of fun to have the different things. Some people that we've interviewed in the past that I didn't know that they had struggled to make the decision, but actually did have to struggle through the decision-making process. It's kind of been interesting to hear. And you're a little bit more like where I was, where I actually ended up having more of my struggles once I was out on the field. Not that you were for sure going to have those, but going out, I never had a doubt in my mind that I was going to go on a mission. Like it was like, I'm going. I thought about it since I was little. and it just wasn't even a question in my mind of like whether I was going or not. And so it's kind of fun to have some of those of both sides and see how those experiences turn out. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So let's talk about a couple things in terms of, you've talked about some of your challenges and things you anticipate to happen. What are maybe some of your goals that you're hoping to get out of your mission, both maybe for you as a person and then for the people that you help?
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, everyone wants to just put as many baptisms on date as they can, and I mean that's what I'm hoping to do. But I just want to like make as many impacts as I can on people's lives, and just like the biggest thing for me is that I know that like everyone in Utah will has grown up and they'll know about the church, but maybe out there in Washington, like some people just haven't even heard about the church and they haven't heard about the blessings that can come from being a member of the church. And so yeah, I just want to be able to make people aware of our church and how we can all live together forever. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that I just want to be able to make everyone at least have the opportunity to know. Because if you never have the opportunity, then I mean you can never. Yeah, you know where I'm
No,
going.
totally. And I think that's a really good perspective of you to have. You're showing a lot of maturity in this interview, kind of what you're expecting, and I think it has to do a lot with, seeing the examples of your, especially your brother, really close up, but some of the other people. I vividly remember sitting on a bus in Mexico, like I feel like it was yesterday, and I'm sitting there thinking, almost an overwhelming feeling of like, how am I going to get to everybody here? Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to live like these guys live, not knowing what happens after this life, not knowing, just trying to survive every day and not
Hmm.
having the gospel of Jesus Christ in their life. And so that feeling of like, you just want everybody at least have the chance to know. And it's so sad. I think that was one of the hardest things is, you have what they need, and some people accept it, and that is the greatest joy ever when people accept it, and some people just don't. Joy. So maybe let's kind of go into a couple things that you are maybe preparing in terms of, obviously we talked about some of your other preparation, but things that you are excited for, like with companions. Like, do you have any with some of your brother's experiences? Are there other things that he's talked about, like fun activities, zone activities, or things like that or like the tie exchange? Like, are there some things that you're kind of excited about missionary service?
I'm gonna say the tie exchange, and I love that. But this is turning into just experience about my brother. But yeah, I'm just excited about just being it. Like I've never lived on my own, and I'm sure not many missionaries else have. So it'll be good new experiences, and just like hearing about, like my brother said, they have they both had kendamas, if you know what those are.
Uh-uh.
And okay, well, there's actually one right here. It's actually funny. I might grab this. Why can I grab it? This thing. It's like that ball in the.
Oh, that's funny. I should know what that's called because they had them all over in Mexico. But
Yeah. So yeah, my brother and his companion both had one of those, and they like, I mean, they knowing they're gonna live together for a certain amount of time, they like would play one match of this game called Ken each night, where they do a trick, and then the other person would have to try and copy the trick, and if they didn't land it, they get a letter, kind of like Pig.
yeah,
And they played like a series best of like 30 something, just whatever. Like, so yeah, they just had games on games of that. So like, just experiences like that with my companion, where we can just bond over like other things that aren't the gospel, which I mean obviously you're going to bond over the gospel, but being able to bond outside of that and just playing games and having fun. And same with P days, like I'm excited to go play basketball and go play pickleball or whatever people are doing up there. And yeah, I'm just excited for the activities outside of that.
that's awesome. Well, Zach, I just want to thank you. We're gonna wrap up right here, but I'm super grateful for you jumping on, and it's been really fun to kind of hear it from the looking forward. And I really think, I know you mentioned like, hey, this just sounds like it's a podcast about me and telling about my brother's experiences, but I feel like that's so helpful for people to listen to and be like, man, maybe I should be reading my buddy's emails more, because this could prep me. And I really do think looking for examples and your willingness to kind of look at it and learn from his things and get excited about the same things he has been is really, really mature. So thank you so much for jumping on. We're super, super excited for you to get out. We're really sad we're gonna lose you once you head out, but we're super excited for you to get out and have all the experiences you're going to have. So thank you so much, and we'll get back with you guys next time. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. We're super grateful for Zach for jumping on and interviewing. We're super grateful for his experience and the things that he was able to share about the excitement from his brother and others that have served before him. He's a super mature kid, and we're super excited to have him out there. Just a reminder that this podcast is sponsored by Odeon Menswear. I am the CEO of Odeon Menswear, and we're super grateful that we're able to do both things. That the Odeon is able to sponsor this podcast so we can help missionaries, and that this podcast is able to help missionaries get out there and hopefully help people find out about Odeon and how we can help them. We've been serving missionaries since 2012, and we're super passionate about getting missionaries ready for their mission through their clothing. And it is something that we recognize that there are so many things to stress about when you're getting ready for missions. Let us do what we do best and help you get ready for your mission in the best way possible. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.